From the Skyloft Studios, high above the streets of downtown Nashville, Tennessee, it's the Tony Vanic Show, bringing you truth, facts, and his unadulterated opinion. Now here's your host, Tony Vanic.
Okay, welcome to today's show. Thank you for joining me today. We're going to be talking about the attack on our police. And this is something that is very close to my heart and my family. And I'm absolutely overwhelmed and disturbed at what I've been seeing over the last several months. I decided to talk about this because we're getting so many conflicting narratives from our ridiculous media that I felt like I needed to put something out there that actually shows the facts of what's going on and how we've gotten to this place. And unfortunately, this whole thing has been predicated on a false narrative, which is very typical of the tactics of the left liberal mob. And I don't know any other way to put it, because I've seen this happen time and time again, where they just jump on some type of a narrative that fits their agenda and all hell breaks loose. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through a few different things, some articles, some statistics on police deaths over the past year, how it lines up with the previous year, and why this is so alarming, and just really put a shout out to all my law enforcement friends and family out there, and just let them know that we're on your side. And we know that this is unfortunately an issue that is only going to get worse before it gets any better. So let's jump into this and cover some of these things. So the first thing I want to talk about is the catalyst to this entire thing that has been happening over the last several months was the death of George Floyd. Now, his death was tragic and more than likely preventable. It was more preventable on his part than anybody else. And I'm going to go through some things that were present in the autopsy of George Floyd. Now, his family had a private coroner that did an autopsy, and then the county coroner did an autopsy. Now, of course, their findings are a little bit different. The one from the family, the private coroner, is skewing his findings a little bit more to benefit the family, but the results are the same. So this is an article from June 4th from NPR. In this article, it explains that the medical examiner's report does not mention asphyxiation. However, according to prosecutors in charging documents filed last week, early results revealed no physical findings that support a diagnosis of traumatic asphyxia or strangulation. So that right there pretty much blows the narrative that this guy was intentionally murdered, that he was targeted because he was black, and these cops grabbed him and threw him on the ground, and they strangled him to death by kneeling on his neck. Now, I don't agree with the tactics. I know there are some police departments out there that train their officers to use that particular type of restraint. It's actually kneeling on the suspect's back between the shoulder blades, not on their neck. This renders them immobilized. They can't get up, they can't move their arms, so they basically eliminate the threat of them hurting themselves or hurting other people. The technique that this officer used was obviously wrong. If you watch the video, Mr. Floyd was complaining that he couldn't breathe before he jettisoned himself out the other side of the cop car. They tried to get him in the one side, and he pushed his way and ended up on the ground on the other side of the car because he was freaking out. Why was he freaking out? Because he was on a series of drugs that was making it difficult for him to breathe. in my humble opinion, I believe he was experiencing cardiac arrest from the drugs he was on, the fentanyl and whatnot. And that's why he couldn't breathe. So he was already complaining that he couldn't breathe prior to him being on the ground. So that's indication number one. When you look through the different findings that NPR goes over in this article, it said that he had fentanyl and methamphetamines in the toxicology report. Methamphetamines and fentanyl in certain doses are deadly. This article was basically saying that he tested positive for COVID-19, which, whatever. Again, I don't know what their angle was with this article, but there's enough information in here to make it viable for research purposes to find out what I was looking for. The other article is from June 1st. It's a Fox News article. It says that another autopsy conducted by the Hennepin County Medical Examiner's Office stated that Floyd died from cardiopulmonary arrest. And then it says complicating law enforcement subdual restraint and neck compression while being restrained. The medical examiner's office is saying that that was a contributing factor to his death, which you can't argue with that. But the gentleman was already having an issue. And if he would have not resisted and just calmly gotten into the police car, he would probably still be alive. But that's an assumption on my part. That's my opinion. Why he was acting so erratically is probably due to the drugs that he was on. So again, not laboring too much on this because this has been covered plenty of times already. But my point being, we're in a situation here where this entire narrative that these people have latched onto is not based on 100% fact. It's based on conjecture and opinion. And there are police officers out there that get up every day, put the uniform on, and they go out to protect you and I and our families and our loved ones and our friends and our property. And they're being attacked. They're being viciously attacked and ambushed and murdered. And it's going on and on and on, and it's getting worse every day. There's something else. And police departments are losing members at an astonishing rate. Police officers are retiring in some departments by the hundreds, depending on the size of the department. And I don't blame them, because if I'm in that position and you're taking away all of the tools that I was given as an officer to use to keep not only the public safe, but to keep myself safe, and I'm standing out in a violent, combative crowd, and I can't defend myself in fear of going to prison, who would even sign up for that job? So these men and women on the police departments that have enough time to actually retire and get a pension, they're doing it. And they're going and they're doing something else that they're not going to have to worry about giving up their life for unexpectedly. Now, granted, when you become a police officer or a firefighter, as I was for many years, you go into that profession knowing that there's a risk, but it's a calculated risk. When you're dealing with people that are hell-bent on killing you, that is not a calculated risk. That is not something that you signed up for, because that's just mob rule. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. We are a nation, a country of law and order. And without that, we're lost. We are absolutely lost. So I'm going to go through a few articles here that I pulled up. Here's an article from Fox News. This is in February 4th. The headline is, Officers Killed in the Line of Duty in 2020. This is in February. As of the end of February, 18 officers have died while on duty this year. And it goes through a list of these officers. Now, this is the kind of job that these folks have. They're out there and they're putting themselves in harm's way to protect us. They're responding to emergencies, to calls for help every day. This officer here, David Kellywood, in Arizona, he was gunned down on February 17th while responding to reports of shots fired near a casino. So he was just responding to the call when he was gunned down. And it goes on and on. I mean, I can scroll through and we can read every single one of these, but all the links to all the research that I do is always in the notes for the video so that you can go back and actually look through all of this information and all these articles. And I encourage you to do so. This particular article is important for folks to look at because it puts names and faces to these men and women. These are just regular people. They have husbands and wives and children and moms and dads and brothers and sisters and friends. Whew. And they're dying for no other reason than to drive a false narrative. I'm trying to keep my composure here because this really upsets me, and it's absolutely senseless. Here's a CNN op-ed, February 10th. Attacks on police are a cause for alarm. This is another good article. I'm not a huge fan of CNN. Not really a fan of any mainstream media sources at this point. That's a whole other topic for another day. This particular article talks about 2 officers in the Bronx in New York. Someone just opened fire on them. It's just disturbing. This will be in the notes as well. Second NYPD officer shot in less than 24 hours. Here's another article, Fox News, published June 2nd. Police under siege, attacks on law enforcement in wake of George Floyd's death. Police officials have said the nationwide demonstrations against police brutality have been mostly peaceful, with small groups engaging, at times, violent acts that include vandalism, theft, arson, and assault. In the days following Floyd's death, protesters have focused their anger on the criminal justice system and police accountability, which, again, is a complete false narrative. And I'm over it. I'm absolutely sick of it. Police officers killed surged 28% this year, and some point to civil unrest and those looking to exploit it. This is dated July 22nd. June 23rd. Hundreds ambushed Tampa police responding to report of shots fired. 2 officers injured. And there's video clips to this as well. Imagine going to work and having to deal with this type of chaos every time you put your uniform on, knowing that at any point somebody could come out of the crowd and shoot you or stab you. It's insanity. It's absolutely pure insanity. The last thing I'm going to look at here is, this is a PDF that I pulled up, and this is law enforcement officer deaths. And it shows deaths by year, felonious, accidental. It shows the region where they were, and it breaks it all down into the circumstances, what weapons were used in these attacks. It's very thorough. This is right from law enforcement, from the FBI statistics. If you look at 2019, there were 30 total felonious deaths of police officers in the entire year of 2019. We are in the middle of September, and we're at 33 felonious deaths in the police department across the nation. 33 murders of police officers. The statistics are a bit alarming. And I'm sure that there are going to be people on the left that watch this video and they'll be outraged that I'm even bringing this up, because they're going to say, well, how many black folks were killed by cops? You know what? Do the research, and I think you'll be surprised, because it's not as many as you're being led to believe that it is. And the statistics aren't hard to find. Before you start spouting off from your pie hole, do some research before you look like an ass, because you people are starting to really look like asses out there, and frankly, I'm sick of it. I'm going to end this video by saying, support your police departments. Support the men and women that are out there every day putting their lives on the line to protect you and your family. If you're out and you see police officers in their vehicles or in stores or walking on the street, give them a smile, give them a thumbs up, let them know that we're here and we support them. Because this is an extremely frightening time, not only for these police officers, but for their families. Imagine your husband gets up to go to work, or your wife gets up to go to work, or your son or your daughter get up to go to work, and they leave, and you know, due to the circumstances and due to the climate and the environment that we're in right now, that may be the last time that you see them. That's nauseating. And I know that being in the police department, being a police officer is an extremely dangerous job. But it's gotten out of hand. So, again, please give them a smile, give them a wave, give them a thumbs up. I'm sure that would mean a lot and make all the difference in the world for them at that moment in that part of their day. So, again, God bless you. God bless our police departments all over this great country. God bless our president, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you and have a great day. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free